Hey folks, welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to talk about Elastic Beanstalk and just go over some introductory concepts, but we will build out an environment as well in Elastic Beanstalk. Now, with Elastic Beanstalk, you can quickly deploy and manage applications in the AWS cloud without worrying about the infrastructure that runs those applications. Elastic Beanstalk reduces management complexity without restricting choice or control. You simply upload your application, and Elastic Beanstalk automatically handles the detail of capacity provisioning, load balancing, scaling, and application health monitoring. So, to use Elastic Beanstalk, you just have to create an application. Looking at the diagram, you can then upload an application version in the form of an application source bundle, such as a Java WAR file. You provide a little bit of information about the application, and then Elastic Beanstalk automatically launches the environment and creates and configures the AWS resources needed to run your code. After your environment is launched, you can then manage your environment and deploy new application versions. So, Elastic Beanstalk is a really good option if you don't have, say, for a software shop that doesn't have AWS DevOps engineers or architects on staff, and the languages supported include Java, .NET, PHP, Node.js, Python, Ruby, and Go. Web servers and containers supported include Apache, IIS, Java, Nginx, Passenger, Puma, Tomcat, and Docker. Supported deployment platforms include Git, IDEs such as Eclipse and Visual Studio, and manual upload with WAR files and zip files. So Elastic Beanstalk is very versatile. Now, let's click on our introduction link for a little bit more information. And we always want to focus on use cases. When would we use Elastic Beanstalk? So again, it's great if you have the minimal time and or resources to learn about the AWS infrastructure. It's also great for shorter application life cycles, such as testing scenarios. Put up an environment real quick for testing your application, and then you can just tear it down quickly. And it's good when you want to maintain some flexibility over the resources powering your apps. Now, what are some anti-patterns for Elastic Beanstalk? Well, when you want complete control over your resource configurations, CloudFormation is the better option, and even OpsWorks. Now, sometimes existing apps can be difficult to fit into the Elastic Beanstalk model, and things can get complicated if you have a lot of dependencies. So, the theme for Elastic Beanstalk and use cases is simplicity of deployment. And if you need something quickly and you do not need a lot of control over your resources, could be your best option. And the apps with longer life cycles and more intensive configuration requirements are probably better suited for CloudFormation and or OpsWorks. All right. Now, let's talk about components of Elastic Beanstalk. The main component is the application, the collection of components such as the environments, versions, and configurations. So think of it as a folder that contains all of your files. I'll go back to the Java example, a WAR file. Next, there's the application version. Application version is part of an app, but each version is unique. And applications can have multiple different versions. We can deploy multiple versions in different areas: staging, Q&A, dev, prod. Next component is the environment. Environment is a version that is deployed with AWS resources. Then we have the environment configuration. These are the settings and parameters that define the environment and resources that we want. And this is where that bit of flexibility comes into play, where you can choose your resources. Then we have the configuration template, and they're used to create repeatable environment configurations, much like a CloudFormation template. So let's look at Elastic Beanstalk hands-on. Let's click on Elastic Beanstalk. So we can deploy an existing web app, create an app source bundle, and create a new application. And we can also deploy a sample application, which is what we are going to do. All right, so let's click Get Started. Let's give the app a name and choose a platform. I'm going to choose PHP. And again, we could upload some code here, zip file or WAR file, but I'll use the sample application and I'll click Configure More Options. So here's where the flexibility comes into play. Some configuration presets, low cost, high availability, custom configuration, software instances. So we can set instance types, environment. And we'll talk a little bit more about this in the next lesson. Rolling updates and deployments. Again, we will talk about this in the next lesson. Some monitoring, network, database, notifications. But let's take a step back and let's just create the application. And this will take a few minutes. Similar to CloudFormation, this window is going to update us on the deployment. Note that it has created an Elastic IP address and added the instance to our environment. All right, so we have an application. So note, our EC2 instance is passing the health check, but trust but verify. Let's click on our URL, and there's our PHP app. So we chose a sample PHP app, and Elastic Beanstalk configured everything else for us. And let's click Show All, and it's going to show us all the events of our build. Again, similar to the CloudFormation stack events. S3 storage bucket, security group, EIP, EC2. Let's take a look at everything Elastic Beanstalk did for us. Let's go to Logs. Now we can request logs. Let's request the last 100 lines. And we can download this information. So note, we have information from an error log, access log, Elastic Beanstalk activity log, EB command processor, a lot of information here. Come in handy if there's any troubleshooting. So let's go back. Let's check our health. We know we're good here, but there we go. Let's check out our monitoring. So we have access to some different graphs, environment health, CPU utilization, max network out, max network in. We can change time ranges and the time period. We can edit and get a little bit more detailed information. We don't have a lot going on in this environment. Now, we can also create our own alarms. Note, each of these graphs has a little alarm button. So this is similar to creating an alarm in CloudWatch. Let's check out managed updates for platform or feature updates. So we can schedule managed updates, and that entails working a little bit with the configuration tab. Managed updates. And again, we can schedule updates. Update levels. Weekly update window. So we've seen events already. And we can also add tags. Let's go back to configuration. We've seen a little bit of this. We'll talk more about this throughout the section. Let's go back to the dashboard. And note, we have upload and deploy. So we could upload new code for updates and just upload a file. I'm not going to perform the whole update, but this is how you would do it. All right, so we've talked about Elastic Beanstalk. and some of the core concepts, and we've actually done a deployment. So with that, we have completed this lesson. Now in the next lesson, we will talk about the deployment options available to us. So let's mark this lesson complete and move on to the next.